Hello everyone, it's Loki from Asgard. I was gonna wear my Yoshi costume for this, but I thought I'd spare you all from the very, very conforming details on this. Hello everyone, it's Eli with Common Sense, and I'm glad to be joining you on this Halloween day. So maybe you got yourself a costume, but maybe you also want to make yourself smell really alluring, kind of mysterious, and a little bit spooky for this spooky season. So today I have just that. I have fragrances that are moody, powerful, and a little bit scary. So stay tuned. Eight moody, mysterious, magic, whatever you want to call it, 8 fragrances that capture this spirit. Number 1 on the list is from a very affordable fragrance house called Laik, and this one is Laik's Encre Noir à l'Extrême. So this one's got incense, vetiver, and LMI as some of the main notes in here, but this one just smells extremely dark, mysterious, and definitely kind of forest-like. That LMI gives off a little bit of a resinous kind of piney vibe, but definitely carries that kind of smoky vetiver, and it just reminds me of a dark forest for some reason. It's very woody, it's got some old school kind of orris, kind of rooty notes, but at the same time, it's very powdery, very dark, and smoky at the same time. Oh man, I just love how this stuff smells. You have to be very confident to wear this one, and I feel like you definitely have to wait for this kind of fall and winter kind of season to be able to pull this off. But this one just smells very dark and powerful, just like some of you out there. That one is Laik's Encre Noir à l'Extrême. This next one is from a Middle Eastern fragrance house that I absolutely love. This one is by Masan Alhamra, and this is from their Zafira line. Zafira Regal is a very leathery, slightly animalistic, yet comforting fragrance. This one reminds me of a spicy kind of animalistic leather, but at the same time, it's very soft, and it just reminds me of a cloudy kind of rainy day. So this one's got saffron, animalistic leather, and a bunch of various balsams in here, but it's also got a really nice floral touch. Just smells really spicy, intriguing, and there is some jasmine in here that gives it quite a bit of warmth, a bit of that heat, and a little bit of that leathery DNA. This one can honestly lean either way. It can lean very dark, or it can lean very soft and kind of sweet. So it kind of reminds me of a villain that ends up helping defeat a greater evil, just like Loki. It just kind of reminds me of someone who was kind of cold and dark, kind of reserved, but now has opened up and is just a lot more warm and pleasing. And that's Masan Alhamra Zafira Regal. So this next one I actually picked up way back in the day because of none other than Jeremy fragrance. This one is Salvatore Ferragamo's F Black. This one, just like he said, is a Wolf of Wall Street fragrance that's really spicy, fruity, and lavender heavy. So this one's got black pepper, tonka, lavender, and apple as some of the main notes. And I remember F Black was super popular back in the day. It had tons of hype maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but it's still a really amazing fragrance for the price. I think you can still find this for under like $20. This one definitely reminds me of a vampire. Kind of reminds me of somebody who's well put together, you know, with their suit, their expensive suit and tie. They're very pale, and they have a little bit of a soft kind of powdery side, just like this. That lavender, the pepper, and that apple do kind of give off that kind of sweet but kind of dark vibe at the same time. And I don't know, this just screams vampire for me. It's an excellent balance of sweet and spice. And that's Salvatore Ferragamo's F Black. So this next one I just talked about in my previous video, but I had to include it again because this video title is perfect for this fragrance. This is Tiziana Terenzis Ecstasy. So Ecstasy gives off a ton of gothic fantasy accords and notes here. You have forest, land, ancient wood, stone powder, and some other really, really creative and intense notes. You have incense and forest air, especially when you first kind of smell it, and off the skin, it gets a little bit warmer. I still would describe this as a hippie wizard because you have a really powerful patchouli and incense that gives off kind of that, you know, hippie 70s vibe, but at the same time, you have that like ancient wood and the forest land. Imagine a wizard hiding away in his abode in the forest, you know, surrounded by trees, and you can kind of see the light coming out of his house. That's exactly what I picture when I smell this. A very smoky woods, incense, and patchouli with a touch of magic. And that's Tiziana Terenzis Ecstasy. So next up we have another Middle Eastern fragrance, and this is from one of my favorite lines from the Masan Alhamra line. This is Masan Alhamra's Amberly Ombre Blue. So this is a patchouli, rose, and leather bomb. It's extremely old school and definitely is a throwback to a time where that kind of patchouli, leather, and those those really strong kind of masculine notes were huge. There's bits and pieces of a ton of different older fragrances that I can think of, like maybe Quorum. Just kind of reminds me of that old school punch that you get from a lot of those retro fragrances in like the 70s. So with that kind of patchouli rose and old school kind of notes, this is a twist on Guerlain's Patchouli Ardente. So definitely follows that same DNA, but does it in a much more affordable presentation. So patchouli can definitely have a kind of gloomy and earthy vibe, and I think with all the florals, the rose, and I feel like I also get a little bit of carnation in here. I don't remember that one being listed, but kind of just reminds me of a gravesite. So with that 70s kind of old school era vibe mixed with those earthy florals, you can kind of see why I might get that. But don't get me wrong, it smells absolutely mature. It smells extremely alluring, very mysterious, and definitely thought-provoking for some reason. It's also one of the best blended fragrances from Masan Alhamra. It smells extremely expensive. This smells like a $400 fragrance, and I believe it's around $50. So definitely one of the best ones from Masan Alhamra. And that's Masan Alhamra's Amberly Ombre Blue. So this next one I like to call my dark horse fragrance. It smells like the Grim Reaper riding on his horse, coming and bringing death. This is Lattafa's Mahir Black. So like I said, this is my dark horse fragrance. It has a blast of leather, labdanum, and gaiac wood. So it's extremely animalistic and it has a smoky kind of leather. So like I said earlier, this is my dark horse fragrance. It smells like it's bringing death. It's got a very animalistic and smoky blast with a touch of resinous spices in there too. But I cannot emphasize how smoky and animalistic this leather comes off. And I also feel like I get a little bit of oud in there. So it has gaiac wood, which is that kind of sandalwood, but I do feel like there is the inclusion of that oud note, like a lot of Lattafa fragrances. So when I smell this, I picture burning ashes, and I swear I get a little tiny hint of like a barbecued smoked meat. So very smoky, animalistic leather, that kind of goes hand in hand with that kind of smell that I'm getting. But this one is not for the faint of heart, especially because of that earthy oak moss, the patchouli, and just that blast of animalistic, smoky leather. This stuff you have to scrub off your hands because it is very strong, so definitely try this out a little bit. I personally don't think I can pull this off, but I really enjoy how it smells, and I just kind of smell the bottle every now and then. So definitely for the brave and for the creative. So you're gonna definitely be wearing this one because you wanna smell like that, not necessarily because other people are going to enjoy it. This is really a work of art. And that's Lattafa's Mahir Black. So another amazing Lattafa fragrance, and I've talked about this one quite a bit on my channel, but I gotta bring it up again because I love this one. I feel like I am the LFA Musam Mom spokesperson on YouTube. This one is Lattafa's Musam Mom. So when I smell this, I immediately picture a character from the video game Paladins. I imagine Maldamba. I feel like Maldamba would wear this. So if anybody's played Paladins, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about. He's kind of inspired by some Afro-futuristic kind of design elements, but he's just a really cool kind of badass character with a really strong connection to snakes. So originally when I bought this one, I thought it was a voice of the snake clone by Gucci. In reality, it's actually kind of a cross between that one and YSL's M7. So shout out to Sorv, thank you for letting me know. It's always a pleasure seeing your thoughts and your commentary on a lot of these fragrances. But this one, it's very mysterious, resinous, and citrus heavy. Musam Mom's got saffron, frankincense, mandarin orange, and amberwood as some of the main notes, but just really, it has a spicy warmth from the saffron on the incense, and it definitely comes off quite a bit leathery and does it in a really nice kind of modern way from the labdanum and the amberwood. I believe there is a bit of incense. It's not officially listed, but that saffron, the incense, and that frankincense really, really come off amazing here. And it definitely reminds me of kind of a poisonous, kind of dark, resinous vibe. Very alluring stuff here. And that is Lattafa's Musam Mom. Last but not least, this is one of the cheapest fragrances on this list. I purchased this one for $15. I've seen it for $13 in some of the rack stores, and you can actually find this in Macy's Backstage too. I've seen it there. So if you're ever at a Macy's, check the back and you may find the rack store kind of discount section. So that's a little hack to finding some of these fragrances for real cheap. So Arland and its parent company are vegan and animal cruelty free, so definitely got to give them props for that. So Rose Oil is a really interesting fragrance. It's got rose, cumin, labdanum, and cedar. So I just picture a kind of sorceress or like a witch would wear this. I can even picture someone like Poison Ivy from Batman, just a really confident, sexy woman that demands your respect. I feel like this reminds me a little bit of Le Labo's Rose 31, but I think it does it in a much more affordable way with just a little bit more of an animalistic kind of edge to it. So the cumin definitely comes off extremely pungent and a little bit tart, especially in the heat, and with the kind of agar wood, it can come off a little bit animalistic and intense, especially in the summer. So this one is definitely more suited for the fall and winter seasons. But it's actually quite surprising how well this one projects off your skin. It shoots off at least 3 feet from you, and you have a nice kind of sillage and trail around you. And for 15 bucks, I really cannot complain. But this one definitely comes off a bit soft, kind of green and floral, but at the same time, it definitely has a prickly kind of vegetal sting to it. So I kind of imagine that prickly stem and the rose with a nice warmth from the woods and the resins in here. But very alluring, very mysterious, and definitely what you want to wear if you don't want to be messed with and you're confident. And that's Arland's Rose Oil. So that's it, 8 alluring, mysterious fragrances for the spooky season. So let me know down in the comments some of your favorites for this season, fragrances that scare you, maybe have a little bit of edge to them. Let me know in the comments and I'd love to discover some more. It's been a pleasure as always. Stay safe out there, have a happy Halloween, and I've been Eli with Common Sense. And until next time, bye-bye.